brothers and sisters, we've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
Well, here I am, my friends. Nice to have you here on the program. Good morning, everybody joining us from around America, happening right now across the YouTubes, the Instagrams, the Rumbles, etc. People are getting notifications that say, hey, Lakey's live. He's been unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. And for that, I say you're welcome. Thank you very much. Good to have you here on the program that we do call Lakey Unleashed, bright and early in the morning. It's just a little after 8 o'clock in the Mountain Time Zone, just after 10 o'clock in the East Time Zone. And for the next hour or so, we shall be together and some news of the day, some great stories coming up to cover and conversation. Got a great question of the day that I want all of you to participate in as well. So everybody prepare your hearts. It's going to be a big time program. Glad to have you here. That was weird. I'm talking and I froze up on my monitor over there, and I'm looking like I'm having a contorted seizure, but I'm fine now. So hopefully you heard all of that. Laura Carno's coming up on the program. It's Carno Tuesday. She shows up every Tuesday morning at about 30 minutes past the hour, so don't forget Carno Tuesday coming up. John Gordon coming up as well in the conversation for contemplation and consideration. We'll have all of that coming up. What else do I have here for you? Oh, I've got a couple of fun stories I want to get to. And, of course, some news stories. The big watch in Washington, D.C. is Dan Bongino showing up to work on Monday. And evidently he showed up to work. They said he was working on something real big. We're not sure what. They said he was in good spirits. A lot of question as to whether Bongino was going to show up. There is the drama between Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi over with. The rumors were speculation that Donald Trump was not happy with Bongino and Kash Patel, or at least that there are stories circulating that they had a falling out of some sorts with Pam Bondi. I'm trying to figure out how this whole Epstein file comes to fruition. How do they close it up? Because it's not going to go away. I don't care what the president wishes for. It's not going to go away. It's going to be a very big deal, and it has to be dealt with. I hate to break the news to the president, but it's a big deal because we know it's a big deal. You made it a big deal, and you can't just kind of pretend it's not there. We are able to walk and chew bubble gum at the same time, so we need to know why it is that there's suddenly no Epstein files when many years ago there were Epstein files. A matter of fact, Giselle Maxwell is in jail. Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name is in jail because she trafficked people, girls, to the people on the list. And who's on that list? That's all we want to know. All right, a guy named Benny Johnson, who I follow online on the Instagram. He's a pretty well-known conservative commentator. He posted this yesterday. He said, I just got off the phone with top federal law enforcement contact. The change in approach for the Epstein file has been dramatic. Expect more disclosures. Benny Johnson writes this in his reporting. Some very powerful people inside the administration are now pushing for a special counsel and a full press briefing on the Epstein findings. Benny says it's important to note that the drastic change in the White House happened after Charlie Kirk and a number of other powerful MAGA voices pushed back on the handling of the Epstein case this weekend at the Turning Point Conference in Tampa. They were met with massive roars and applause from the 7,000 people gathered. That could not be ignored. In short, according to Benny Johnson, our voices are being heard by the administration. And so we shall see what develops. I just confirmed, Benny says that Dan Bongino was in the FBI office at work yesterday and is working on something, quote, very important. Dan was in a positive mood after further internal movement toward Epstein disclosures and transparencies. Trump team is back together and they are locking in. Now, what did I tell you yesterday on the program? I had some the way that Pam Bondi could dig her little smarmy ass out of this thing. And and save face here. She handled this inappropriately. She did not give conversation, nor did she give explanation. She just said, nothing to see here. There's no list. Well, we know there's some kind of a list because Prince Andrew is persona non grata because he partook in whatever was on that list, and he did. So it's BS if Pam Bondi wanted us to believe that. And gaslighting at its best. Now, is there evidence that has been tampered with? Is there problems with the files? Probably so. They've been in the hands of the FBI. The FBI has been a very, very, very big problem the last many years. So it's possible there's problems with the files, but we know there's some kind of files. So everybody hold on to your hat. What did I say yesterday in the show? I said the way that Pam Bondi could dig her way out of this is to appoint a special prosecutor or to appoint a special counsel that will dig in and do a full investigation, give them a time limit on when this is due, give them a rather short time window. Let's get it by the midterms, and let's talk about this Epstein list, and let's get it all out there. Now, I speculated yesterday, there were some people that are speculating that Matt Gaetz, who was supposed to be at the Florida Turning Point Conference, but he got rerouted up to Washington, D.C., and was reportedly in the White House over the weekend, somewhere with the staff or with the president or somebody. I said that they said, well, maybe he's trying to get rid of Pam Bondi and bring Matt Gaetz in as his attorney general because that was his first choice to be the AG anyway, until he had to pull himself out of the nomination. I don't think that's the case. I think Matt Gaetz would have a tough confirmation hearing, but I would not be shocked at all, and I said this yesterday, if Matt Gaetz is not going to be appointed some kind of a special prosecutor or some kind of a special counsel to go after maybe the Epstein files. So right on cue yesterday, everybody says, well, there could be a special counsel appointed, a special prosecutor to really get all the truth out about the Epstein files. And Matt Gaetz would be probably a decent fit for that. There's another special counsel that is now being talked about in the White House, and that is a special counsel of Conspiracy Gate. Going after and looking at all of these grand conspiracies that we've had with the Justice Department, with the FBI, and talk about all the grand conspiracies they've done to pull down President Trump and weaponize the justice system. My understanding in reading is that a lot of these instances would be past the statute of limitations. If you charge them as crimes or find a way to charge them, they'd be past the statute of limitations. But if you're charging it as a grand conspiracy, that statute of limitation does not. So you could go back to 2016 and find some things there, and you could put that in the grand conspiracy wrap. And the other thing about a grand conspiracy charge or prosecution, if they appoint a special prosecutor, is my understanding is they can pick the venue. A lot of times things that happen in Washington get taken to court in Washington, D.C., and because of that, you have a bunch of libtard judges up there that are going to really squelch the that loving feeling that you want from a judge. If they do the grand conspiracy prosecution, special prosecutor, and bring charges, they can pick the venue. So, for instance, since Donald Trump's house was raided in Mar-a-Lago, and these perverts decided to go through Melania's panty drawer and Barron's underwear pants drawer, all of a sudden you could file this court case in prosecution in Florida. So watch out, my friends. I predicted it yesterday, and I think that Matt Gaetz is going to be a name that will be considered to be a special prosecutor. And again, there's now 2 special prosecutors being talked about, and one of those would be in the Conspiracy Gate, all of the conspiracy weaponization of the justice system that happened regarding Donald J. Trump and his election, and the weaponization of the deep state. And the other one would be the saving face movement to get the Epstein files cleared up once and for all. So everybody hold on to your hats, my friends. I predicted it yesterday. I think a special counsel, a special prosecutor could be in our future. And that's where the name Matt Gaetz popped up. So some folks were speculating that Trump may be trying to get him as AG and chase Bondi out. I don't think so. That's my gut on that one. I think Matt Gaetz, if anything, is going to be a special supporting role here. And I think Matt Gaetz would have a tough time for a Senate confirmation with some of the things that are on the list for him that were in the ethics file. So, all right, got some other stories here. I want to show you a video. This is a fun video. Has nothing to do with Pam Bondi. Has nothing to do. This is not Stacey Abrams. I promise you this is not Stacey Abrams on the hood of the car. But this is in Richmond Heights, I believe in Virginia. A lady decided to jump up on a car a police officer was in. It happened to be a police car. and she decided to do a little twerking, and now they're using facial recognition to find out who the bimbo was that did the twerking. And I just couldn't bypass the story, and I had to show you the video. It's better to show it than to tell it. So, ladies and gentlemen, please watch this news story from Richmond, Virginia. And notice when she goes to the story, I don't know why, it's sophomoric humor, childlike humor, whatever. She pitches to the reporter on the scene of the crime. His name is Harry Boomer. I don't know why that name strikes me funny, but Harry Boomer. Ladies and gentlemen, play the tape.
All right, now back here at home in Cleveland, a wild scene caught on camera. Some people are in some twerking trouble after what you see in this video. The provocative dance has been around for decades, but I've probably never seen it done like this on the hood of a police vehicle with the officer inside. Our Harry Boomer has the exclusive video that you'll see only on 19.
Harry Boomer. I always liked Harry Boomer.
Well, Nicole, here, you think about it, outside of this parking lot, the Richmond Heights Police Department patrols this parking lot outside of a hot spot to
Looks
make
like
sure
a donut
nothing
shop
gets
should
out
be
of
in this.
control. But they never expected to see what they saw.
Here it is. Here it
Video
is.
is worth more than 1,000 words. Watch, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
Here she comes.
This video was captured by a Richmond Heights police
Make your
officer
mama proud.
sitting in his vehicle back in June outside a popular hotspot in the Hilltop Plaza.
A group of females walked by the cruiser and then returned back around this way. One of them climbed up on the push bumper and began to dance on the push bumper. And then another two females came walking around the other way as well, climbed up on the side of the car. One was standing about right here, standing on and dancing on the hood. And then another one then climbed up on the wheel and then onto the hood of the cruiser as well. There's a small dent and a little crease here.
All right, that's enough of that story. I just wanted to show you that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care how drunk you are, twerking on the automobile of the hood of an automobile that's owned by the police department is probably ill-advised. And if anybody knows who those women are, if you recognize any of that twerking and bouncing, please call the Richmond Heights Police Department. They are looking for these wanted criminals that have twerked illegally on the hood of the car. You're welcome for that public service announcement. Again, help us look out for that. The twerkers in Richmond, Virginia, Richmond Heights, Virginia. They're at a hot spot there. They were in a hot spot and they got a little heated in the heat of the moment and the strip mall, and they decided to twerk inappropriately on the car. Bad advice. Don't do that. That's under the file. Please, Delilah, don't try this at home. You got it? I heard that someone was twerking on a police car, and I thought it may be Delilah. But Delilah is well, if she's got any color on her skin, it comes from a spray can. So it was not Delilah. But Delilah, I thought that was something that you might pursue one day, is twerking on a police car. So it's a public service announcement. Please don't do it. All you fine ladies in this audience, no twerking for you either. We don't want to have that happen. It would be a very bad thing. All right, I got another fun story before we get back to more things. I want to talk about Jerome Powell, our Fed director of the Fed. I want to talk about more about the Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino fallout, what's going to happen to the Epstein files. I do want to dive into that further. Laura Carno's coming up on the show. But here's a story about an HOA. Anybody got a great story? Anybody have a wonderful HOA? I probably have the least offensive HOA that you could probably have. Producer Chad and I were talking before the show about homeowners associations and problems that he's had with his HOA before. And, my HOA is not too bad. We live in a kind of a smaller enclave, so we all know our neighbors. You live in one of these big subdivisions, you don't ever know who's HOA board because they may live on the other side of the street. I mean, the other side of the neighborhood for you. My neighborhood is a very tight, small enclave, a couple of dozens homes, and therefore we know who the HOA members are. And I'm probably the only guy in the neighborhood that has never gone to the HOA board. I've had people say, "You want to run for HOA?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have a stupid bone in my body that's stupid. I'm not going to do it." But a couple of times I've gotten a little nasty gram from an HOA or an HOA administrator that something was wrong. One time I got a nasty gram that I could not have a political sign in my yard 30 days past an election. Well, if the jackass that was driving through the neighborhood taking photos of the political sign would have noticed that there was a whole bunch of guys that ICE was not bothering, but they were on my roof putting a new roof on my house, and the sign out front in the yard actually was just naming the roofing company. And at that point, I called and told this HOA administrator, the better part of he could bend over and try to kiss his own ass because I'm about to kick it goodbye. What idiots that was. So anyway, if you have an HOA story, I'd love to hear your HOA story. Have you gotten in trouble for something? Producer Chad was talking about got in trouble for a basketball hoop that he had not gotten permission for his sons to play with and to have it rolled out to the street and put back in the garage. So anybody got any ridiculous rules for your HOA? What ridiculous rules? I'm sorry, I'm looking at, I didn't know what that word was. Ridiculous. I like it. I like it. Producer Chad's been drinking. No, any ridiculous rules? Sorry, I was reading at the corner of my eye. This stuff pops on the screen. I'm like, am I asking the right question? What is it? And then I was like, oh, ridiculous. Okay. Anyway, put it back. There it is. It changed. What did it? It was wrong, right? Was it wrong? Or was I just see stuff out of the corner of my eye and I'm like, I don't know what that word. Oh, maybe it went away, right? Okay. Maybe it was wrong. I don't know. Producer Chad changed it. Or maybe I just imagined that it was wrong in the first place. It's probably, I imagined it because this ain't coffee. No, it is coffee. I promise you it is. All right. Any great rules from the HOA? Love to hear from you. All right. Bad rules. Okay. I'm looking at the clock. I'm way over time. I'm yapping about topics that are not on the agenda. Well, that is on the agenda. Just the John Gordon in the studio from his studio. Mr. John Gordon, talk show host extraordinaire. John, the truth with John Gordon. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. Thank you, Jimmy. How are you?
Well, I'm doing very well, sir. Very, very well. Sorry to keep you waiting. I looked up and I'm 3 minutes past due. I apologize.
You're doing just fine. And I was president of 2 HOAs during my adult life. And I actually found it to be a pretty rewarding and gratifying experience, but with some speed bumps along the way.
What was the one thing that you always had to hassle with? Was it the color of a fence? Was it a stranded car in a driveway? What was the thing?
I can't remember a thing. There were always a multitude of things, but my goal as the president of the HOA was to make the neighborhood better. I was not the enforcer of the rules, and we really didn't have too many people that broke rules anyway. People were pretty well behaved, but the organization, we had 1,000 households in the first HOA.
Oh, wow.
Called the Northside Mount Perrin Neighborhood Association in Buckhead in Atlanta. And it had just gotten sort of stale. Nobody had really minded the store. And we had a snow day in Atlanta. We actually had, it lasted 3 days, which was unusual. And my wife and I, we had a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So we would go out to lunch. We'd drive over to one of the hotels and have lunch. Just had fun in the snow, but we were making first tracks everywhere we went. There were no other tracks in the snow. So then at the end of the month, we got a bill from the police officer who patrolled our neighborhood, and he billed us for those 3 days. And I had our security person call him up and say, "Hey, how did you patrol? Because there were no tracks in the snow. We were watching." He said, "Oh, I was just on foot." I said, "Well, you're unemployed is what you are." That was the end. We had had a series of issues with him, so we just helped make a career adjustment for him. But other than that, it was really pretty smooth sailing.
Yeah, our HOA is pretty harmless. I had a couple of things here and there that I've gotten letters for and notifications that, hey, but they usually notice I had a lawn problem going on for a while. The landscaper, nobody could figure out what the problem was for like an entire season. Then I'd fix it and then it'd go back. And we thought it was a fungus and nobody knew. And I got nasty notes, but nobody ever, they could have fined me, but they never did. I said, I'm working on, I promise you, we're trying to figure this whole thing out. A couple other things, but anyway, if you've got an HOA story, that is our question of the day, the big HOA stories. John, let's dive into here to a couple of topics with you. I was talking earlier of the fact that there seemed to have been a rift. Maybe it's healed up now between Bongino, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi. Suddenly, I don't know if you knew this, John, that the Epstein files don't exist. There are no files out there anywhere. They just disappeared, I guess. Giselle Maxwell is locked up for no reason. There's no list. What do you think?
I think it's very disappointing, and it's a big issue that I have with Trump on this. I think that people are talking about Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. It's not them. I promise you, they are doing exactly what the president of the United States has asked them to do. And it just reminds me of Trump 1.0 when we were promised the JFK files, and the head of the CIA, what's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. Who was the head of the CIA?
That was
Pompeo, Mike Pompeo. Yeah,
I was like big guy, now small guy. I couldn't think
yeah,
of his
that's
name.
right. And his Trump's explanation was that Mike Pompeo implored him not to release the files. Okay, here we go again. I guess that John Ratcliffe made it over to the White House and said, please don't release the Epstein files, because my suspicion is I'm in the camp that I believe that Epstein was an agent of our government, if not ours, then Israel's. And his job was to entice people into a honey trap where they would capture them on film and then use that to control them. That's what I suspect, without hard proof, but we've got a lot of evidence. I mean, we know that the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida, when he was being questioned for a confirmation hearing by the Senate, they asked him, why'd you go so light on Epstein? And he said, I was told to, that he was part of intelligence. Okay, check that one off. And then I can't remember who the informant was, but somebody said, yeah, there were cameras in every bedroom in every house. So what more do we need to know? And just don't play us for fools, and do what you promise, and be transparent. And I played tapes of Trump and I love Trump. Make no mistake. I voted for him 3 times. I've given him money. I ran for Attorney General of Georgia because I felt like he was cheated out of his second term in 2020. I am all in on Trump, but that does not prevent me from telling the truth. I just call balls and strikes. Okay. Republican, Democrat, Independent. I don't care. I'm just going to tell the truth because I think that's really, really important for the survival of and the health of our country. And so, I played a videos of Nixon in his press conference in 1975, I think, or 4, where he said, all right, well, we've been at this for 25 minutes and Watergate just will not go away. I think we've got more important things to talk about. And then Trump's in the Oval or in the cabinet meeting 2 weeks ago or a week ago saying, well, now we've spent enough time on this. We've got much more important things to talk about. We need to move on. That didn't work for Nixon. It's not going to work for you either, Mr. President. Get with the program. You're going to have to give us more than that. Just be real with us. We have the files. I've seen the files. It's ugly, but for national security reasons, I cannot give them to you. And, I watched this guy. You ever watch Julian Dory? He's got a podcast.
Yeah.
You know the podcast I'm talking about?
I've heard of it. I'm not that familiar, but I have heard of it.
He's a young guy in New Jersey. He knows so much more about the world and what's going on than I do, and I'm twice his age. I am genuinely impressed. But he had a conversation with this guy the other day he's kind of like the guy that goes around taping people. Oh, geez, what's the matter with my brain today? It'll come to me. Give me a second. But
we know there's a list because Dershowitz has actually seen the list. Alan Dershowitz says he's on the list.
We played that clip on my show the other day too. But he was interviewing this guy who's an investigative journalist, and he said that I think the problem is that China's doing this stuff, Russia's doing this stuff, Great Britain's doing this stuff. If we don't do this stuff, we won't be able to have as good of intelligence as they do. So we've got to do this stuff. Well, if that is the case, then just tell us that, signal us, telegraph us something, but don't cover up, pivot, and obscurate and tell us that we're the problem. That's not going to work.
Just come out and say, hey, here's what we can't do. We're going to do this, this, and this, but we can't for this. And that's fine. But to come out and blatantly say there are no files, it's not here, I've looked, that's a lie. Don't play us for fools, as you said.
They've really injured their brands and their credibility. And good for Pam Bondi to sit there and say, I've got the files on my desk, I'm reviewing them, and we're going to release them this week.
This
and
is
then
the
to
same.
come back a month later with this horse manure.
Yeah,
It's embarrassing.
This is the same government though that lied to us for 60 years about the John F. Kennedy assassination. It was military intelligence.
They're still lying to
they're
us.
they're still lying to us. But at least we know more now than we did because they have released some of it. They lied to us. This is the same government that tells us that boy that shot tried to kill the president of Butler, Pennsylvania, was just the bed plan cleaner at a nursing home somewhere. Went to the rifle range. Well, why not show the videos of him at the rifle range? He was at the rifle range that was often used for training by the government. I mean,
why not?
They lie to us all the time.
Why not unredact the name of the individual that went to the rifle range with Thomas Matthew Crooks? Every time he signed in, somebody else signed in with him, but they redacted that name. Yep. Let us see who that is. I'm telling you, Butler, we haven't gotten a tenth of the information.
No, we're not.
Where is Maxwell Urich? He is the key to Butler. I want to know. Tell us all you can tell us about Maxwell Urich. Then we'll know what happened in Butler.
If you're listening to the audio portion of the show, of course, some of you watching it live, and by the end of the day, thousands of people will hear this show, either watching it live on the streams or they'll listen to it on the podcast. Subscribe at Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeart, everywhere you hear podcasts, you can listen to the audio. If you're listening to the audio, that's John Gordon. You can find him at John Gordon TV, The Truth with John Gordon. John, it's fascinating to me. I was reading over the weekend, they released a report to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of Butler, Pennsylvania. And it was, we suspended a couple of people, and it was really bad, and we didn't do a walkthrough, and the Secret Service sucked, but no one gets fired. No one got fired. And I find it interesting that the report was released by the Government Accounting Office. The GAO put out that report. I'm thinking, is the FBI involved here? Is the secret? Why is the accounting office of the government releasing a report on the assassination attempt on Donald Trump?
I don't have a clue. It reeks of cover up. And I saw President Trump on television a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Well, my people told me that everything is okay, that what we've been told is it, and then everything's okay. So I got to rely on my people."
Yeah,
I think he was sending out disinformation, to tell you the truth. It came across to me like, I know what you've done, and I'm going to get you.
Yeah,
but I'm going to do it on my time frame, with my methods. I don't know. I just don't know. But it is so disturbing to me, and it just seems like it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive. Maybe I just don't have enough insight into what the real picture is. But it just seems so wrong to me and so easy to fix if people would just tell the truth and hold government accountable. Yeah. But there's where it's missing. It's like you can do anything you want to if you're in government, and you're going to get away with it. And I call it trickle-down ethics. We've telegraphed to every bureaucrat in America, you can dump on this guy, and there's nothing that's going to happen to you if you're in government. We'll protect you.
Yeah.
And so it just encourages the dog catcher to break the law when he's enforcing the leash laws, Yeah.
John Gordon, it's always a pleasure, sir. I have a prediction. I think the way they get Pam Bondi out of this debacle, unless she quits or they fire her, which I don't see that happening, is they're going to have to put a special prosecutor out there. I'm thinking Matt Gaetz is probably in line for that. There's rumor he was in Washington this week. They're also talking about a special prosecutor when it comes to the grand conspiracy of all the weaponization of the government. Is that how they save face and renew the brand on this Epstein file, is to put a special prosecutor and actually maybe let them do their job?
Now, this is where I could be very wrong, but I ascribe a 0% probability that they're going to appoint a special prosecutor, because when they do that, they lose complete control. And I think the decisions on this stuff is being made right at the President of the United States desk. And he would have to sign on to a special prosecutor. And, there are 10 other ways they could do this and save face, probably. But I think that we're going to find out that it's so ugly and so illegal and so violative of the laws of nature and God that they can't afford to tell us the truth. I think that's the paradigm. And so I think that we'll probably never learn what happened with Epstein, and we'll just have another 60 years of denial and cover up.
John Gordon, if folks want to watch your show, listen to your show, where do they go, sir?
Well, you can go to johngordon.tv. We're there. All of our past episodes are there. And then we are on the radio every Saturday from noon to 2. And again on Sunday, noon to 2 on the John Fredericks Radio Network. You can just search for John Gordon Truth. We'll pop up on Getter, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, X. And we live stream at all those platforms while we're on the radio. And you can call us while we're on the radio as well. We'd love to engage with you.
John Gordon, always a pleasure, sir. We'll talk again very soon. Hopping in the program, johngordon.tv, johngordon.tv, johngordon.tv. Let me show you this one more time. Again, advice here, don't be twerking on a police car. I don't know why somebody said they put coffee out their nose when they saw this. This lady in Richmond Heights, Virginia, decided to twerk out on the police car. They're using facial recognition to try to identify who she is. If anybody knows who this twerker is, please let them know. And then she was joined by some cohorts out there. Other cohorts jumped on there. They dented the police car. You can see there. Danger, twerkers out there. Do not twerk on a police car. This is a public service announcement to try to get people like Delilah to behave themselves in their drunken stupors. So pass the word to all of your friends. See the twerkers there? They're using facial recognition to recognize who they are. Twerking right there. That's just awful. I can't believe that this is happening in front of the camera, and it's shameful. Look at them. If anybody recognizes them, that's who they're looking for. They're looking for those twerkers. I'm looking to see. That's not Laura Carno. No, not Carno. It's not Delilah. No, we're good there. It could be producer Chad. Sometimes he dresses up real pretty, and no, it's not. It's too much of a tan. Ladies and gentlemen, there's your public service announcement. Be careful when you twerk. Don't do it on a police car. All right, good to have you here. Glad to have John Gordon on the show. JohnGordon.tv, JohnGordon.tv, JohnGordon.tv. Just a moment, we're going to welcome into the program Miss Laura Carno, aforementioned, as a suspected twerker, but we've proven her innocent, and she's good. We'll get to Laura here in just a moment. I'm going to go through a list here in just a moment. It's not the Santa Claus list. It's the naughty or nice list. No, it's just a list of those of you that are participatory in, oh, by the way, Arloa, second half of your desk has been purchased. Anybody out there, if you can't do a full desk, we're asking for 30 people, and we're getting close to halfway there, 30 people to donate $175. $175 buys a desk for our new 5th grade classroom. We're launching a new grade next year at Legacy Christian Academy. If you'd like to help us, $175, a one-time gift, 30 people. I need to get the full count. I think we're at about 14, if I'm not mistaken. It's $175, a one-time gift. We would appreciate you participating. Go to riverspromise.com, riverspromise.org. You see the name above my shoulders, Rivers Promise, and in doing so, just put a .org or .com and .org or .com, and you'll get there. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the program. I know you're waiting with bated breath and anticipation right now. Palpitation is happening. Oh, Ray says this is true. We got to check. Ray says one of the twerkers looked like Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, if it was Stacey Abrams, it would have been a bigger dent in the car. It might have been Jasmine. It could be Jasmine up there. Put that back. Hang on. Let's go to Jasmine. I got to get the pictures again. That's not the good. There we go. Pause the frame. Is that Jasmine? I don't know. It's very possible. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can identify any of these twerkers, please send them to producer Chad's house. Here, the twerkers are out on the leash. All right, here we go. Laura Carno's out there waiting patiently for me to shut up. Here we go. Laura Carno jumps into the studio, lauracarno.com, pastorcolorado.org. How are you, Miss Carno?
Jimmy, you have the strangest stories right before I come on all the time. I think you plan it this way.
Do you know any of those twerkers? I'm glad it wasn't you or Delilah. I was just suspecting. I said, you get them out drinking together, and God knows what happens.
Oh my gosh! At my advanced age, my joints don't work like that anymore. Even if I wanted to, even if I had the rhythm to perform the twerking, I don't work that way.
We're just a public service. I'm just trying to keep people out of trouble and get the lawbreakers under control. Jim just posted up this. He said the twerkers are all the staff of Jared Polis, Jenna Griswold, and Joe Biden accounted for. That could be. We're missing some Democrat staffers out there twerking on the cop car. You know, it's just to think they wanted to defund the police. If they would have defunded the police, there would have been no car for them to twerk on.
Well, or it would have been a burned out car.
Yeah. Well, that's probably their next. They didn't find it. They were probably trying to strike a match or something. Never mind. I'm not even going to put that visual image out there. Laura Carno,
I know you, Jimmy.
You could see my little beady head working. You're like, oh God, he's going to make a nasty joke. Laura, I'm guessing where you're building your home, because you're obviously you've been temporarily displaced into a travel trailer, motorhome type thing, and you're in the workshop now. But I'm guessing you're building in a place where you're not going to have a problem with an HOA.
So our HOA is kind of a roads HOA because it's the community owns the roads, and I describe the HOA rules as don't be a blank hole to your neighbors, because there's like and we're on acreage out here, so it says if you have animals, the smell should not go into your neighbor's property.
Okay.
And no dirt bike tracks, and keep your light on your own property.
Okay. That's good.
Easy,
we have
easy.
we have the same rule in our neighborhood. Please keep your smell on your own property. That's a strict rule here. It's part of it. We try to keep our state to ourselves here as well. So that's good to know. Yeah, HOA stories are often fun, but I'm glad I like yours. Just don't be an a-hole. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Be a good neighbor.
Next HOA meeting, I'm going to change all the minutes and bylaws, and I'm going to move that we just say our rules are don't be an a-hole. So that would be a good one.
Yeah. So Jimmy, when I worked in banks way back in my early banking career, we had a rule called the don't run naked through the branch rule. And there were some things that were so obvious, even if it wasn't in the policy, you should know not to do it. So to me, that's the don't be a jerk to your neighbors. It's similar to the don't run naked through the branch rule. Everybody should know that that's bad.
You should know. It should not have to be a paper, but you have to. It's kind of like you go to McDonald's and get a cup of coffee, and they say, "Warning: contents may be hot." Because they got sued. You should know that the contents will be hot. You should know not to run naked through the branch of the bank.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly.
It's good to know. We try to keep. Yeah, I hate that rule. It's not as fun to go to the bank anymore.
As a customer,
I just don't like going to the bank anymore. I get naked and get a little vitamin D is what I get. All right, Lauren, let's talk about this. One of the biggest, I think, scandals probably in Washington, D.C. is we really, I think, are on the verge of a constitutional crisis, because we now find out that the memo that went out to pardon Dr. Fauci said, I give permission, and it was the COVID director, COVID czar for the Biden White House. He put a memo, says, I give permission to use the auto pen on the following pardons. Biden came out and said that he was in agreement with all of them, but this is not right. The president, staffers and chief of staffs and COVID directors sending memos that are now public documents saying, I give you permission to use the auto pen for this. The constitutional crisis.
Yeah, and no less than the New York Times published that. Although I think their headline was a little bit misleading, because if you just read the headline, you'd think everything was hunky-dory. But, really the question we've been asking on this show for the last 4 years, who is the president of the United States? And this auto pen scandal, I agree with you, it's a huge scandal. It basically says not only who was president, but who was doing the things that the president should do. The president has the power of the pardon. His chief of staff / COVID czar does not have the power of the pardon. And there were vast groups of people that were pardoned at the 11th hour. Literally, by the way, the 11th hour when the president was asleep. No way he was awake. But there were categories of people. So the president said, yeah, I can get behind the whole pardon nonviolent drug offenders. Yeah, let's go do that. But that's not what the power of pardon is. It's, do you pardon this person, individual human being, for this crime? It's not big groups of people. And then when you come to these preemptive pardons like Fauci and all these different people, it's you have to ask that question, who was in charge? And we all know that it wasn't the president. The one that he did sign personally was Hunter Biden's preemptive pardon. So
It's going to be fascinating. I don't know where this goes. You know, there's all sorts of corruption. This is corruption, all sorts of corruption in D.C. No one ever gets held accountable. So I kind of expect this is just going to be another, I guess, thing for us to talk about. But no one's going to be held accountable. But it seems as if once they can get all this documented, they can go to a court and say these are null and void. This was not the president's doing. We have the testimony. Is anything going to come of this other than just us squawking about it, Laura?
I mean, I really hope so. Thomas Massey said, okay, well, game on for going back after Fauci, because there clearly was no pardon. And if the Trump administration does not go after this, like they're kind of, as you're talking about with Epstein, they got to go after this. This isn't just about your predecessor. This isn't just about your predecessor who was going after you legally, in the Trump in everything they did after Trump. This isn't like a revenge. This isn't anything. This is a constitutional crisis. Yeah. Who is allowed to pardon people? And especially, we saw during the Trump administration, lots of pardoning of nonviolent drug offenders and some really interesting criminal justice reform along those lines. And those are very legitimate, but to take your half of your administration seemingly and say they did nothing wrong, and exempting your administration from the consequences of really terrible things that they did, lying under oath, for example, in Anthony Fauci's case, among other things. This is something that's going to set a precedent, and they've got to fix it, and they've got to fix it now.
I have the story here. Senator Rand Paul, Kentucky, on Monday said he's going to reissue a criminal referral to the DOJ for Anthony Fauci after his pardon was confirmed to be issued by a late-night auto pen. Paul said in a post out there, "Today I reissue my criminal referral of Anthony Fauci to the Trump DOJ." He says we're talking about a whole lot of people when he granted widespread clemency. That's not how it's supposed to work. Rand Paul posted on X, "Perjury is a crime and Fauci must be held accountable." Rand Paul in 2021 accused Fauci of lying to Congress. So it looks like just Massey and Paul and some other guys are going to get behind this thing and start saying, hey, we're going to pretend these pardons don't exist, because they really don't. So good for Rand Paul. Hopefully it goes somewhere. Let's see what Pam Bondi does now.
Yeah, and you're correct. It was Paul, not Massey. I misspoke on Massey. I don't know that he's said anything, but yeah, this is top of mind for me. I know that the Epstein thing is very interesting as well, but as you said, this really rises to the level of constitutional crisis.
It's going to be interesting because it has to be fixed. You just can't have this going on, whether you're Republicans or Democrats. I didn't want George W. Bush out there pardoning everybody in the world preemptively and just blanket. If they do this, this, and this, and their hair color's blue, we'd like to pardon. No, that's not how the pardons are supposed to work. We shall see. And hopefully this is a chance for the administration to show some transparency that some of us feel that they're not showing in the Epstein files. All right, Supreme Court win yesterday or this week from the Trump administration. SCOTUS once again calls the balls and strikes and say, we side with President Trump that he is able, even though judges tried to stop him, to lay off workers in the Department of Education. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah. Since the inception of the Department of Education and all of the billions of dollars that have been spent by the federal government to do whatever they're doing to influence education. Children can't read, children can't write, children can't do math at grade level. And so whatever they're doing, however you feel about the Department of Education, and it's, is it legitimate or not legitimate? I think it's not a constitutional function, so it shouldn't be there at all. But there are people who think that it should be there and the federal government should do something. It's not working. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, throwing more money at it, throwing more people at it, throwing more of these policies that have been in place for decades at the Department of Education to try and form young minds in a certain way. It is not working. I think that this is a good first step to examining, if 1,400 people are gone from the Department of Education and nobody notices.
Yeah.
there's your sign. That tells you something.
Laura, there's a story that's become a national story, and I haven't mentioned it yet, and I'll see if you've been following it. I saw it on national news. I saw it locally in Colorado news over the weekend. There's this dude that got arrested, and his mugshot is quite scary. Some horrible guy. And I wish I had the mugshot, but it just came to mind. I wanted to ask you about this. He tried to kidnap a kid from an elementary school. He was taken into custody. The kid was safe. They ruled him incompetent to stand trial. It's like the third or fourth time the guy's been arrested incompetent to stand trial. And our governor and our libtard Democrats in this state signed a bill that says if someone is incompetent, you have to drop charges. So this guy's going to get released from the jail in the Denver County Jail, back on the streets. And even his own family is on quoting going, we don't know how he keeps ending up on the street. The guy needs to be detained. Colorado's gone so crazy that a guy that tries to kidnap a child because he can somehow drool and be insane, not mentally competent, they can't file charges against him.
Yeah, and producer Chad needs to find that picture, because if your viewers haven't seen it, he's one of the scarier looking guys. I remember when this happened last year, it was like, holy cow. But yeah, I heard an interview with DA George Brockler yesterday about this, because what are the details about it? And it's something to the effect of he had an actual evaluation, and he was found fine by the mental health, whatever that mental health hospital is in Pueblo. And then the defense, because of this law that you're talking about, his defense team then hired another psychiatrist to say he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and he can't stand trial, and then he has to be released. I mean, number one, the pro-criminal laws in Colorado, they are why Colorado kept inching up and up and up and up until we're right at the top of high crime states and crime increases. It's because of all these laws. But for goodness sakes, he went on his school grounds and tried to kidnap a child, and he's a registered sex offender before that. So what I'm hearing is that there's some folks that want to launch a recall on this district attorney, not George Brockler, the district attorney in the 18th district, because she should have said, we've got conflicting mental competency reports. We need to have a hearing to suss this out, because something's wrong here.
Yeah.
She did not do that.
I just want it to all be known for anybody watching outside of the state of Colorado that there's a name that signed this jack wagon kind of bill into law, and his name is Jared Polis, and he's the guy that has his chomo back on the streets because he signed a law that says that a guy can drool and act like he's got a mental deficiency, he has to be released and dropped. Jared Polis's name is on that, and the chomo's on the streets because of old Jared Polis. I don't know how else to say it. We got to warn America that this Jared Polis guy, there he is. There's the creep. That's a scary looking fella.
Yeah, I think about my grandkids, if they had seen him, walked up to him. I mean, he just looks completely unkempt and crazy eyes. And I know not everybody's watching this, and people are listening, but scary guy.
If you read the story, even his own family, they're like, he's got to be institutionalized. They're begging for it, but Jared Polis signed a bill that keeps the chomo drug addict on the street.
Yeah. And when he runs for president, let's keep all of those bills in mind, all of those pro-criminal bills in mind. Let's keep in mind that he claims to be a libertarian governor, and he is the opposite of libertarian. Yeah. He tried to confine us to our homes and called us selfish bastards and all kinds of stuff during COVID for not obeying his edicts.
Jeff just posted on the Facebook chat room. He says, "Raised by wolves." I don't know.
Right. Right.
Raised by something. It's not a good look there. It's not a good look of that guy. All right, Laura, one more quick story for you. An article that you wrote about the Educator Safety Task Force, and I'll let you just unpack it from there. People say, what's the Educator Safety Task Force? Well, if anybody's going to explain that, it's Miss Laura Carno.
Yes. And this is all over my social media, by the way. So you can go find this article. Last year, I was appointed to the state's Educator Safety Task Force. And it came out of a bill that passed in the legislature because of all of this violence in schools. Now, you all know that I run Faster Colorado, where we train people to protect schools against armed attacks. This is different. This is different educator safety. What I was unaware of, Jimmy, because I've been so focused on like the worst of the worst violence, which is school shootings, what I was unaware of is the number of educators, teachers, paraprofessionals who get beaten up every day on our school grounds by students. And so it was a almost year-long task force. It was extremely eye-opening. What we were uncovering among the task force members who represented schools all around the state, rural, suburban, urban, all kinds of schools, we thought, okay, this is really shocking how many people this has happened to. We need to do a study or a survey. So we did a statewide survey and found out that around 50% of people who responded to the survey have been personally assaulted by a student. And even if you want to say, okay, well, you're more likely to take this survey if you've been attacked, but this is still hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in the state of Colorado who have been physically assaulted by students, resulting in time off of work, resulting in injuries bad enough to send you to the emergency room. We have, broken ribs, all kinds of different stuff.
Wow.
And since I posted, so I wrote an article about it because our task force work is completed. And so I wrote an article about it. It was in the Denver Gazette, Colorado Springs Gazette this weekend. And as I said, I've been posting that on social media and just hearing from lots of people. I'm so glad you wrote this. I was a teacher. I left the teaching profession because, and they give me this story and they're heartbreaking. And why I thought this was such a big story, nobody ever hears about this.
No.
We hear about, school shootings and gang violence, which is typically student on student. But we're not hearing that teachers every day are getting assaulted and beaten up by students, and it's going largely unreported.
Well, what's also baffling is that I can think of when you hear of the teachers' unions in this state and other states. We heard from them during COVID. They wanted kids out of the classroom, teachers not back in the class. I've not heard, help me if I'm wrong, the Colorado Teachers Union saying, hey, our classrooms have become unsafe. We have to get rid of this student-on-teacher violence. I've not heard Jared Polis, who claims to be a big fan of the charter schools, used to be on the State Board of Education. I haven't heard him advocating for these teachers. Teachers are getting their asses kicked every day. And where's the teachers union? They're paying dues to make sure that their workplace is the right thing that it should be. And the teachers union, quiet on this, Laura?
Yeah, I half expected to get some hate sent my way from some folks like that saying, no, it's absolutely safe and you're, fanning the flames or something like that. I've heard nothing. So I'm hoping that not necessarily my article, but the release of the task force information, I hope that this is causing somebody to say, hey, we got a problem here that we were unaware of or really didn't see, the totality of it, because it is a real thing, Jimmy. It's way bigger than anybody thinks, and I think it's a cultural issue that's somewhere somehow we think it's okay for teachers to take this, and that's not okay.
Let me ask you, is there in the task force in the report, and I haven't read it yet, so I have to go to your social media and read it. Are there areas? Is it metropolitan areas, suburban areas, rural areas? Is it across the board that these instances happen?
Yeah, it's all of the above. It's a little bit less in charter schools, and it's a little bit less in rural schools. And I think some of the ideas you could extrapolate from that. Are they better schools? That's debatable. But perhaps if your children are in a charter school, the parents are more involved because they had to take a proactive step to research the charter school and that sort of thing. We did talk to some rural educators who said that they have a lot of families, new families to their area. Some of them moved there to get to better schools. Again, parental involvement and interest in, maybe a smaller class size or something. But it literally was statewide, rural, suburban, urban, charter neighborhood school. It was really all over the board, and it was heartbreaking, Jimmy, that there was this one teacher up in the high country, and she was being physically attacked by a student, and she gets on the radio and said, "Somebody come help me," and she said, "Nobody ever came." And nobody could even respond on our meeting, and these words, "Nobody ever came," they just like hung there in the air, and it was just so heartbreaking to think of, your kid's teacher. We all love our kids' teachers. Could you imagine your kid's teacher being assaulted and nobody ever came?
Rich puts this comment up in the Facebook chat. Violence on teachers is a problem. The kids have no consequences for doing the violence, and teachers have no recourse. Is that really the summation of the problem? The kids have no consequences, and the teachers can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, it varies, but Rich is onto something there, and I talk about that in my column. There's this notion of the school to prison pipeline, that if you have school resource officers in the school, then kids are more likely to get in trouble, and then they go to jail, and then they're going to go to prison. They'll be in prison they'll be career criminals. So if we never have cops, if we never get law enforcement involved, then we have less of a chance of them becoming career criminals. So that is one side saying we shouldn't have consequences for children. But if they beat somebody up in a grocery store, or somewhere outside of the school campus, and committed assault, they would have consequences. Why is it different on a school campus just because of that geography and that it's a teacher or a paraprofessional? These people didn't sign up to get beaten up.
No.
And have to be kept quiet. So there really is this push-pull on, we don't want to blame everything on the kids, because some of these kids who are violent come from violent backgrounds and they need help. Agreed, they need help. Also, you've got these other kids that aren't beating up anybody on campus. They need to get an education in a safe place. And if there's violence of any kind, they're not going to be able to learn. So it's very multifaceted. And I'd really recommend folks take a look. Again, it's all over my social media. I posted it on Sunday. And it was in the perspective column of the Denver Gazette on Sunday, and it's getting shared fairly widely out there. So take a look, and I'd love to hear folks' input if they've got stories to share, assembling stories, not using names, but assembling stories to get back to the task force.
Jeff says, I know a teacher that thinks she has to be in the union just for legal counsel if she gets sued. But the teachers union doesn't care. If she gets sued, maybe they'll help her. If she gets her ass kicked, it doesn't matter. Just take the beating, lady. That's what you have to do. Again, if you're out of state listening to these Colorado situations, that guy right there is on the streets because of Jared Polis, and teachers are getting beat up because of people like Jared Polis and the worthless teachers union here. So again, what am I telling you? First of all, avoid the state of Colorado if you must, because guys like this roam the streets. Second of all, if Jared Polis ever decides he's going to run his smarmy butt for president, just remember this guy, the poster child of the Jared Polis campaign. Laura Carno, always a pleasure.
For sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
LauraCarno.com, fastercolorado.org, fastercolorado.org. She's keeping kids safe out there from the school shooters and violence on the campus. And we need to have an organization morph a little bit and keep the teachers safe out there, it sounds like. And Jared Polis's Colorado. Every time we feature Jared Polis's Colorado, you just need to remember that guy. This is Jared Polis's Colorado. He signed the bill that lets this guy get by with trying to kidnap a child, having a rap sheet, and yet he's still on the street. So, Jared, you've created a fantastic state there. All right, we're going to do the meme roulette, but with Jim says this, with Colorado Dems use the pro-criminal bill to their advantage when they're charged with crimes. When they have the office of the Dome of Dummies, they have all tracked into the law. Yes, thank you, Jim, appreciate you jumping in here. Ladies and gentlemen, in my right hand, I'm going to prove to you that we are lazy today. We did not create our own memes. We simply, my friends, steal them. We steal them from all around the globe, and I do a little incantation in a very non-cultish way. We say round and around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from, no one knows. So, ladies and gentlemen, prepare your hearts, and I've been warned today that you might want to clear the coffee from your mouth, because there's some coffee spewing memes about to be produced here on the screen, selected by none other than producer Patel, also known as producer Chad. Ladies and gentlemen, round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. This is it. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Babylon Bee, Trump honored the gay community by attending a soccer match. Pride Month is back in July. This is the only time that President Trump probably supports men playing a girl sport, right there. If men playing a girl sport right there, Trump honors the gay community by attending a soccer match. Good for President Trump. We appreciate his support of the LGBTQ RSTUV community. We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Oh, this came from one of our listeners. Linda, thank you for contribution to the show. info@jimmylakey.com. Gas prices are so high that I went to the car dealership and test drove 3 cars to run my errands. Follow me for more money-saving tips. That's not a bad idea, Linda. Not a bad idea at all. Although gas prices coming down a little bit. Gas prices coming down. Ladies and gentlemen, round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. A little cartoon action. The moment you realize He-Man had friends named Ram Man and Fisto. Yep. Going to be in a soccer match here before long. Didn't know that. Did He-Man really have friends named Ram Man and Fisto? Going to be in a soccer match here right now. Around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Little Jeff Foxworthy play. If you think that children of illegal immigrants shouldn't be penalized for the crimes of their parents, but all the white people need to accept blame for what someone did 200 years ago, you might be a Democrat. Truth has never been spoken so succinctly. You're welcome. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Once you understand why the pizza is made round, packed in a square box, and eaten as a triangle, then and only then will you understand women. Let me once again say that and unpack that for all of you. Once you can finally understand why the pizza is made round, they put it in a square box, but you eat it as a triangle, only then will you ever understand women. Yeah, don't hold your breath, my friends. You could die. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Ketanji Brown Jackson, again from the Babylon Bee. Justice Roberts gives Ketanji Brown Jackson a magna doodle to keep her busy during the oral arguments. There she is. She's just turning the knobs, making it keep her busy. Give her the child's menu, the color book. That's what she needs in oral arguments. Ketanji Brown Jackson, a DEI hire. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. It shows up. This is one that's been circulating for a while. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you read this yourself. The 99-cent store just started selling crayons. If you're listening to the audio portion of the show, you know how they come up with periwinkle or something, weird colors. Well, the 99-cent store started selling crayons, and this color is well, they summed it up. It's called dog wiener. Is what it's called. I warned you, don't have coffee in your mouth here. Don't do that. I think that's all of the memes that we have for the day. I'm glad to see the YouTubers are out there chatting in their races. That kidnapper guy looks like he was a character from Howard Stern. He does look kind of rough out there. By the way, if you're on Rumble, we haven't heard from Rumble this morning. A lot of good news on Rumble. We always appreciate you being on Rumble. Don't forget, follow us on all the platforms. Even if you only watch on one consistently, follow us on all of them. That way it helps the algorithms. And by the way, also like and download all of the shows that you want to hear. All the platforms. That way you have a backup. You can go to the Apple Podcast, go to Spotify, go to iHeart, go to all these places and get a copy of the show. Listen to it later in the program. Of course, live, we have video. But throughout the day, you can just listen to the audio portion anywhere that podcasts are found, any of your favorite podcast platforms. I sent an email yesterday to Sherry Cree and asked her, when can you come on the program this week? And I also need to get Josh Lewis on the program as well this week and see if we can get some update on the markets and the tariffs and all the things that are happening. The market doesn't seem to be as volatile as they have built in some trust that Donald Trump might seem to know what he's doing when it comes to tariffs. But when it comes to homes, you need to trust Sherry Cree. Maybe you're thinking about moving out of the state of Colorado, and you need to sell your home here. Maybe you want to get out of the crime-riddled state that Jared Polis has created, the high cost of living state. We're going to hate to see you go. Probably all of us going to get chased out of this state one day. But in the meantime, make sure you get that house sold for top dollar. Sherry can help you do that. Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. And also, as you're heading off into the wild blue yonder, you're moving out of state, anywhere, maybe you're moving in state, but it's an area that Sherry does not necessarily have expertise in. She has a referral service. She will refer you to a great realtor. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. You a lot of realtors in the state of Colorado. We all know that, but you got to find those that you can trust. Those that have that aren't just kind of doing it because they got laid off from the factory job. They decided to get the real estate. No, Sherry's made a beautiful career of this. With every transaction, every client that she has, she goes into it not just to sell the home or to get the home, a great home for you to purchase. She goes into it with a bigger, higher purpose, and that higher purpose is, number one, to become your realtor for life. She wants to earn that that privilege to be your realtor for life, even for your whole family. She wants to be the realtor that you call your neighbors and say, if you're going to sell, you got to call Sherry. She goes into it with that higher purpose that she wants to earn that privilege for your recommendation and your repeat business. She also goes into it that she's going to be generous. If she does a transaction, buying or selling, she's going to take a cut of her commission and she's going to donate a portion of that to the charity of your choice because she wants you to be able to give back. If you're a first responder, a military person, she goes into that relationship immediately that she's going to discount those commissions because she wants you to get into that dream of home ownership. So wherever you're at in Colorado, if you're in that I-25 corridor, let's say Fort Collins to Denver, the South Denver area, maybe you're up in the Windsor area, wherever the case may be, call Sherry, homeswithsherry.com. If you're in Broomfield, if you're in Loveland, if you're in Berthoud, somebody messaged me from Berthoud the other day and said, I need a realtor. Who do you recommend? Sherry Cree. Homeswithsherry.com. And you can call her now. Maybe you're thinking next year is going to be the time you sell. Maybe you're thinking the fall. Maybe you want to get first part of next year, whatever. Start the strategy and the conversations now, and that way you're ready to roll when it's time to roll, and Sherry can help you do that. The pricing, the staging, everything. Again, she goes into the relationship wanting to earn the privilege of becoming your realtor for life and your family's realtor for life, and that's her goal, and she's going to treat you that way. Homeswithsherry.com. We'll get her on the program this week. Homeswithsherry.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you one more time, for the kindness of your heart, that I'm asking for 30 people. And we're just about halfway there, I think, now. I'll give the total count. I'm asking for 30 people. Of the thousands of people that listen to this show or watch this show throughout the course of a week, I'm asking for just 30. That would make a one-time gift of $175 to our charity. Riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. Just make that donation. And what it is in our school, Legacy Christian Academy, that we're building in the Kimoni area of Rwanda, which is about 45 minutes to an hour outside of Kigali. One of the poorest of the poor areas. It's really was tragically poor when we got there. It's still very poor, but at least people aren't dying on the streets, and kids are actually have a hope of a brighter tomorrow. Every year at Legacy Christian Academy, we have need for space and sponsorships, and we got to build more buildings here real soon. We need more sponsors, but I have an immediate need that we have a new classroom. We're adding a new grade. Our primary campus will go up to 6th grade, and next year, which is not next month, we're starting the new school year. We're going to add our 5th grade classroom. And to put a 5th grade classroom, this is a private Christian school, and we need help. We need to put desks in that classroom. We need to put chairs in that classroom. We need to put the supplies in that classroom. This is not an area where you can go down to the Walgreens and get your list of school supplies and parents bring it in. These are people that do good to feed their children. A lot of times, if they have a child that comes to our school, they know that our kids are going to eat 2 meals a day, and that takes some of the pressure off to feed the rest of their family. We're talking very dire circumstances, poorest of the poor, most desperate of the desperate. It's hard to not have the allergies anytime you're at our school just to see the beauty of what we're doing and the transformation we're bringing. I need 30 people, and we're just under halfway there. We're not quite halfway there. That will give. Maybe you can't give the full amount. Give what you can, and I'll find someone to match it. If you can give half of it, like somebody did earlier, we'll find someone to match it. But I need 30 people or any variation thereof to make a one-time donation today, this week, to Rivers Promise, riverspromise.org. You're going to help us have these desks have to be hand-built. We're great for the local economy, local tradespeople. They're great desks, wood and metal, and great chairs. And we also have the school supplies. 175 times 30. There's 30 kids in the classroom. We need that times 30. And if you can help us, a one-time gift of $175. Now, today's July the 15th. If you're listening to the live portion of this program, and I have to tell you, I know a lot of folks get paid on the 15th. That's when that direct deposit hits. Would you say a quick prayer maybe today? Take some time away from your cubicle and desk and maybe ask the good Lord Almighty if this is something that you would feel called to contribute to. If you don't feel that tingling or that unction, if you will, that nudging, then maybe don't give it. That's fine. But I know there's a lot of you that want to help the kids. And I'll tell you, we teach our kids respect. They're not beating their teachers up. They're thanking their teachers for giving them the ladder to climb from the pit of extreme poverty. So would you help us get over that hump of the halfway mark? I'd like to come on the program tomorrow. If we haven't met the goal, I'd like to say we're at least halfway there. And we're not quite yet. I got to do a final count. Some of you contributed yesterday. I got to get that count in there. It's riverspromise.org, 175. And again, if you can't do it all, do part of it. Maybe you say, I would love to do a desk. Then do $25 and say it's for the desk. Do $50. Put it out in the chat room and say, I'll do half. Who else has got a half? Call your neighbor up. Message somebody on the Rumble or the YouTube and let us know that you're going to do it. So 175, one-time gift. I'd appreciate you doing it. Also, want to remind you, when you're at my website, riverspromise.org, I want you to remember there's a tab at the top. It says, click here for our latest events. We have a golf tournament coming up. It's Friday, September the 5th. We got to start talking more about this because we're less than a month and a half away, about a month and a half away at Friday, September the 5th. Our golf tournament, still a chance for sponsorships, still chance for registration, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com, riverspromise.org. Make sure you get signed up, and all of that is on the website. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a slice of pure heaven and ecstasy for us to be together today, joining together in one accord and conversing and contemplating all the things that are in the world out there. Don't forget, if you see the twerking ladies out there reporting to the police, there they are. We're looking for them. We're still looking for the twerkers. Dirty dancing on the police cruiser. It's not a good thing. It's a bad look. You should not dirty dance on the police cruiser. So if anybody spots these ladies, call them up in Virginia and say, hey, I found them. Little nasty, nasty girls, bad girls. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back tomorrow morning. Good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. And producer Chad allows me to grace this side of the microphone again. Until we meet again, God bless you. God bless America. Riverspromise.com, riverspromise.org. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out.